Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. And let me tell you, if you out here wondering why an undefeated team isn't in the playoff,
you are not alone.
And you think that a team that does not lose their games in a Power 5 should be in the playoff, you're correct. That ain't what happened. But if you tired of living like that shit, let me introduce you to 2-5. And of course, I got the one and only Mr. Logical. Live from Jersey, New Jerusalem in the building. T-Neck, what's up?
What's good?
Piscataway, Trenton, Camden. I did not Google these cities. I know these things.
Pinelands, what's goody?
Yes, sir. But tonight, we are here. We got reaction to the college football playoff. Imagine that. We are going to talk about the NFL because the 49ers went up in there to the link. They stomped the mud hole dry. Feathers everywhere all over the link.
Dangerous.
Then Mr. Logical said, hey, 2-5, you know what I want to talk about? I said, what you want to talk about? He said, I want to talk about these unqualified coaches running around this league.
Updated resumes on LinkedIn, got jobs.
And I said, Mr. Logical, tell me more. But now, get it off my chest. So, Mr. Logical, of course.
You know what it is.
College football playoff, So, look, I'm going to just get this started because I'm a Florida State fan. And I'm going to sit up here and say, I was not angry. I was not disappointed. I ain't going to say I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't angry. I wasn't frustrated. I was kind of heartbroken. And not even from the fact of being a Florida State fan. Just the fact that you go undefeated in the Power 5. Everybody talks about the SEC. Beat a SEC team. Beat 2 SEC teams. The only team that shut down Jaden Daniels, albeit it was a half, but
Yeah.
But they shut him down. I'm looking at this. And I already got beef with the committee because I've been telling y'all for the last 3 or 4 weeks that I felt Washington should have been number 1 or number 2 anyway. And all I know is Washington played Oregon twice. Oregon was favored twice, including this last time by 9.5. Y'all tired of being wrong about Washington yet? But let me get back to Florida State. So I was sitting here Saturday night watching a team that averages 30 points a game get held to 6.
That's tough.
I was watching my team play the Wildcat and get a 73-yard run. The Wildcat ain't even a thing anymore.
Listen, just give it to your best player, let him run with it.
And I'm just trying to understand, we all know, just as Shannon Sharp said, the college football playoff is the Alabama Invitational. If there's a hook or crook way to get Alabama in that playoff, they're going to do it. And I am not saying that Alabama does not deserve to be in the playoff. I'm saying they both deserve to be in the playoff, but there's only 4 spots, even though there's 5 power conferences. So do your math right there. So how about you could have got 8 teams this year? You could have had your Michigan. And, oh, by the way, Florida State had more total yards in the ACC championship game than Michigan did in the Big Ten championship game with all of their players.
Say it with your chest, Mike.
Including
Say it with your chest, Mike.
Including
you try to come up with new format. Say it with your chest, Mike.
Don't try to act like Louisville wasn't higher ranked than Iowa.
Get him, Mike.
Let's not try to act like Texas didn't go into Alabama, beat Alabama, lose to Oklahoma, and beat absolutely nobody else.
These are facts.
You know what I'm saying? You were wrong about Oregon twice.
These
so
are
you know what they did, Mr. Logical? You know what they did?
They ignored all the facts.
They didn't piss me off. You know what they just did?
They piss in your pocket.
They just killed the ACC. That's what the College Football Playoff Committee did. They just killed the ACC. Because me and you talked about this in one of our very first episodes. Florida State and Clemson, we out of here. We trying to get up out of here. All you did was accelerate that. Because you can't sit up here and tell me, I don't care who you are. If you can't sit up here and tell me that if J.J. McCarthy had got hurt, Michigan wouldn't be in the playoff. Now, granted, he ain't putting up the numbers Jordan Travis is anyway. But the point being, you mean to tell me that even at 12-1, if Alabama had a backup quarterback in there, they was going to get in that playoff. You're not holding them out. And then, lo and behold, what do I hear? I hear bitching from Athens, Georgia. Georgia,
too late in the year.
GTFO. Don't sit up here and tell me every week matters. And then you go out here and lose, albeit a great game. And then you still think you deserve to be in. Do I think Georgia could possibly be one of the 4 best teams in the country? No. No, I do not.
Get him, Mike.
You know what I'm saying? I think Michigan is better. I think Washington is better. I think Texas is better. And I looked out the other day and I saw that Alabama was better. Because not only did Alabama beat Georgia, they beat them in Atlanta, by the way. So out of here with that. Now, as a Florida State fan, Orange Bowl, Florida State versus Georgia. Trying to be excited about it, right? Everybody's saying, hey, Georgia going to beat y'all by like 17. Regardless if they do or don't, this is what I'm going to tell you. We ain't want to be there. Because the SEC get to use that excuse. Why can't I? But let's just say hypothetically,
you're not
Florida
using
State,
these excuses.
No. Florida State, no. I do think that Florida State will want to be there. I don't know if Georgia will want to be, but I also don't know how many players are going to sit out the damn game because either the transfer portal or getting ready for the NFL draft. So I don't know if that Orange Bowl is going to be a true measure of
most
Florida
of those
State
sit out. Most of those guys that sit out are like top 15 picks. Like they already know they're going to be a top 15 pick.
Oh, I'm sure
some guys need.
I'm sure for Florida State. I'm sure Jarrett Verse is sitting out. I'm sure of that. I'm thinking Akeem Dent is going to sit out. Looking at the Georgia sideline, some of those DBs sitting out. Like, that's just the way it rolls. That's just the way it is. Just like hell, you got Ohio State finish number 7? And their quarterback bouncing.
The transfer portal is bananas. But the I'm tagging on this good off my chest piece because I'm not upset with the committee because I'm gonna hit y'all with a quote from Maya Angelou. When someone showed you who they are, believe them the first time. The committee, and I've been saying this entire time we've had this podcast, it's about who travels. Granted, Florida State does travel, but the other 4 teams do as well. Well, maybe not so much watch them, but they were undefeated. So if you give the committee a reason to count you out,
and they had the best resume in the country.
And they're gonna take it. They're gonna take that avenue out. My issue is that people are coming on TV trying to justify it. I understand it. I understand the decision because it's like you said, it's Power 5. There's only 4 spots. Alabama did beat the number 1 team in the country. Any other year, that would get serious consideration over a team that didn't beat a number 1 team. So, Florida State, I think they're looking at the 0 in their 13-0 record. And I understand that, but the outrage is not really – the outrage is almost like falling on deaf ears because if the same situation happens next year, they're going to do the same thing. Well, now they get 12 teams.
Yeah, next year is going to be 12 teams.
You're not going to complain about being 13 unless you're Liberty. If Liberty, JMU, and App State all go 13 or 12-0 and they are 14, 15, 16, and you got like a 3-loss Ole Miss in there, then you'll be able to make that argument.
Well, the good news is the top G5 champion will get a playoff spot. So it's just like the New Year's 6 right now.
So somebody's going to get in. So there's always going to be someone looking on the outside. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago that in a crazy scenario, Texas should have been in over Alabama because they had the head-to-head matchup undefeated. So if in a perfect world, all things being equal, you would have your three undefeated teams and then Texas, because Texas had the head-to-head versus Alabama. That's where it would have been. Jordan Travis breaking his leg made it easier because the FSU fan base doesn't have the cachet as the Alabama resume. It's like you made it a hot line, I made it a hot song kind of argument. So again, you had a good run, but this team not only has a continuously have a good runs, they also still beat the number one team in the country. So that would have given Alabama leverage any year, even if George Travis was healthy. I think it still might have gotten them in. It would have been a tough sell, but the sell would have been
No, I think
they
they
beat
would
the
have.
number one team. So like that's
No,
the
no. You
thing
know what
with
I
the
think?
committee.
I think
The
if Jordan
committee,
Travis was if Jordan
healthy,
Travis was healthy,
they still would
Texas
have
would
got
be
out.
the ones upset right now.
It would have been it would have been harder to justify the Texas, because Texas was like, yo, we beat Alabama head to head.
And the committee would have said that was 8 or 9 or 10 weeks ago. Alabama is a different team today. We think Alabama is better right now. That's what would have happened. Just like, let me take you on a
You might
journey.
be
Let me
right.
take you on a journey.
You might be right. You might be
Let me
right. You
take you
might
on
be
a
right.
journey. This is pre-playoff. This is pre-BCS. This here jersey that I'm wearing lost a game to Notre Dame in South Bend. Notre Dame went out later and lost to Boston College. Glenn Foley, shout out. Went to the bowl game. Florida State beat Nebraska, who was undefeated. I believe Notre Dame beat West Virginia, if I remember correctly. Florida State won the national title, so Notre Dame fans said, hey, we beat them. This is not new to college football. This is just how college football gets down.
Yeah, like I
And
said,
this is
when they
why,
show you
because we do
believe the
this.
first time.
This is why
And
college
we're
football
gonna
do what
watch.
they do.
And
we're
we're
going
gonna
to watch. And I'm
And we're
going to
gonna
watch.
We're gonna watch Florida State. Hopefully, I don't want to say beat Georgia because I don't want them to win. I wanted to be an exciting game.
Yeah, I just wanted to be competitive.
But after what's today? Today is Tuesday. I'm 10:27 on the East Coast right now. It'll die down because the arguments. It seems like the talking points and the talking heads. Like I watched ESPN First Take reaction. I watched Colin Cowherd's reaction. I read an article by Heather Dinich on ESPN.com, and everyone is pretty much essentially singing the same media song, which is they didn't look good in their last couple of games, even though one's a rivalry game and one's a game with the true freshman. You're not supposed to look like a well-oiled offensive machine in December when you have a true freshman quarterback. It just no one does. And they talk about Cordell Jones.
Even though Alabama
needed by 6 points combined,
they needed a Hail Mary basically from the 31 on
fourth and 31
to beat Auburn, and you going to sit up here and tell me that they deserve
after they just got thumped by New Mexico State. So it's just a matter of like, ooh, he literally hit the ground hard. It's just a matter of what logic do you want to apply to your argument.
So this is what Ime was talking about right there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Stop bitching, LeBron. But yeah, like but that's the
kick though.
But that's the thing though, like, you know, is that if Auburn hadn't lost to New Mexico State the way that they did, if Auburn, who had a chance to play Georgia this year,
they still would have been 7-4 in that Bama game. So it wouldn't been like they would have been a juggernaut.
That's what I'm saying. If they played Georgia, they played Ole Miss. If they could have knocked one of them off, now you got a little okay. Maybe Auburn's pretty decent. You know,
but I think that argument of they beat this team, they beat this team, they beat this team is it's a waste. It's a waste because it rarely works. Like it rarely justifies because it's such a rabbit hole.
Right.
Because if you did strength of schedule at the beginning of the season based off of last year's records and that's it. Like, hey, these are the teams that they scheduled. And you base it solely off this previous year, I would be good with that. But the problem with strength of schedule, it changes from week to week, depends on who wins and who doesn't win. Because there's so many. It's like the whole, remember in sex ed when they told you we have sex with one person, you had sex with every single person that they had sex with. So it's like I don't know all these damn people. Let me know what's up, what's going on right now. And that's the thing is like if you did the strength of schedule at the beginning of the season, like, hey, Alabama's strength of schedule is this based off of last year's numbers, rankings, whatever, and that was the number. So going in, they started out with a schedule. They can help if a team, can't play in the rain, or if a monsoon comes, or if their running back gets suspended because of grades, whatever the case may be, because all that can alter your strength of schedule. So I just think like because they were only going to use their business minds, because it wasn't a football decision, they can say, oh, because they had a freshman quarterback, that was a decision. That's why we did it. But even with that, it's like somebody in the room could be like, yo, we don't reward winning. We don't reward perseverance in this amateur sport. We don't reward perseverance now.
Well, that's the thing. College
Because like
football is the only
if
sport.
Alabama had to play with that quarterback that played in the South Florida game, and he would have won the SEC championship, or if he would have come in and beat that and won that game in Auburn, they wouldn't have been discrediting the backup
Exactly.
quarterback.
They
They
would have
would have
talked
still like
about how Nick
this,
Saban is.
this is how great Nick Saban is as a
Mm-hmm.
coach. He can rally the troops no matter who you put out there. It's a next man up mentality. So it doesn't matter. Like I said, like I talked about in our pre-meeting, what you have is a PR team has two cards to give the college football playoff. Is like, hey, you can say we felt that Florida State earned their way in because they were 13-0, and Texas earned their way in because they beat Alabama head to head. That's the card you go to the podium with. Or you could take this card that says we believe that Florida State would have been at a disadvantage because of their lack of the quarterback play. And that's why we felt Texas and Alabama will be better teams because they're more complete, because they're not missing a key component to their
But they
offense.
are.
And
Texas
that's
is
the,
missing their starting running back.
but they, we know how
Who?
people feel about the quarterback. You see it in the
No,
Heisman,
I
you see it in
know.
the
Yeah,
MVP,
yeah.
you see it in the contracts, you see it in the commercials. We understand the narrative that surrounds quarterbacks because a good quarterback is vitally important. Because a bad one, like I said, I went to a Jets game. I'll talk about it more. Tim Boyle was terrible, and it was awful because he couldn't make plays. So like I said, I understand it. I'm just not going to justify it. I just felt like it was easier for the committee to not let Florida State in the club versus
Well,
like
but that's
imagine
the
if
but that's
we talked about Memphis Bleak and Jay Z earlier. Imagine if Memphis Bleak showed up in one car and Jay Z showed up in the other car with Beyonce, and it was like, oh, Memphis got in line first, so he gets in, but Jay and Beyonce can't get in. Can you imagine like the club owner like
well. I
going
just
on
feel
Twitter
that
talking about like, oh, Bleak got here and he had his entourage here first, and we ran out of space. It was like, nah, man, you let Jay and Beyonce in because
I
they're
just
Jay and
feel that
Beyonce.
I just feel that Florida State was just in a no-win situation. Because let's just hypothetically say Florida State had lost that opening game to LSU, and then they won out. Then the narrative would have been how weak the ACC is, but when they went up against a real team, they lost. When Florida State went into Clemson and won, Clemson, people said, "Oh, Clemson, they lost to Duke." Clemson, yep, but they beat the same Notre Dame team that Ohio State got credit for beating, and Louisville got credit for beating. But now Louisville's bad all of a sudden. They like they people downplayed that when Clemson is better than say Auburn. You know, Florida State, they went and played Southern Miss, killed them. That evens out Alabama's Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's why you that
That's what I'm
Venn
saying. It was just a
diagram,
no-win situation.
that
It was a no,
expansive Venn diagram is just it's
just like Florida
it's
State
great
played
to
North.
talk about.
Florida State
It's
played North
great for the
Alabama.
college football posts that I follow now because of you. It's great for the sports group chats that I'm in. But as far as like, if you're talking to me straight up, it really comes down to: do you want to say this publicly, or do you want to say this? And they wanted to say that the lack of a starting quarterback is the reason why they felt like that's why they kept using that narrative, four best teams. If you keep it a bean based off of this year, even with the Georgia losing to Alabama, they could still make an argument for Georgia being the four best teams. So it could have
Yeah,
been
if
a
they used
conversation.
last year.
They could have they could have used a conversation where maybe they say Washington didn't play that tough of a schedule, or maybe Michigan's a blue blood. But if you think about Michigan, like they have one big win over Ohio State, and then they play a Big Ten in a Big Ten that doesn't score a lot of points. They tend to be able to physically dominate most of the teams that they play. So is that a testament to how poor these other teams are, or is it just Michigan's really, really good? So you can always argue and
Well,
rationalize,
usually
justify.
both because
It
Michigan
just,
ain't won
it
a
just,
playoff game yet.
it just would have looked. No, they beat TCU. No, they
No,
lost to
they
TCU.
didn't.
They lost to TCU. They should have won. That was a touchdown that on that one play that they
That
called
was a
incomplete
touchdown. It was a
or down
touchdown.
at the one.
Yep.
But so that's like I said, that's what it all came down to. Because after all the games played out, it was a matter of what are we gonna say when we pick these four teams?
All right. So
The
now that
record, the record, realistically, like I said, if you give them enough, if you like, we talked about all the crazy scenarios a few weeks ago. It's like, listen, if you get them a one-loss Texas and a one-loss Alabama, and we figured an undefeated, the other three teams are undefeated, you're gonna get Alabama in just because they would have beaten Georgia to get in, and that would have been their justification over Texas.
well,
Alabama just beat Georgia.
if
So there was
Florida,
always going to be some verbal judo, some kind of, like I said, my favorite saying is don't piss in my pocket, tell me it's raining. They were going to piss in everybody's pocket. But we're going to get the games. We're going to get the 3 games that we feel we want. Hopefully none of them are blowouts. I have a feeling that Michigan, Alabama might be
see,
a
I was about
little
to see.
tougher
Stop
as we roll
jumping
into
ahead. Yeah,
as we
stop
roll into
jumping
the
ahead.
wrap up. Yeah,
You know,
now we're wrapping up. So we transition. Now we're on our B block. You know what I'm saying, we're getting professional over here. So now we're in the B block. So the wrap up, like I said, I think the video that I saw, the reaction of Michigan when it said Alabama, and people groaned. It was like, oh, in the selection, like when they're all in the room, it was like, oh, and then a few people clapped, and they just kind of looked around, and it was like, where the cameras at? Like, how do I show the emotion? But I looked at the Alabama one, and it looked cynical. It looked like sociopath. They were sitting in a little film room. Nick Saban sitting in the front row. I think it was like 4 rows, and it went up. It's like 4 across, like 4 seats, and then it was like probably like 10 or 11 rows that you could see on this particular shot.
mm-hmm.
Alabama got the 4. Nick Saban had his water bottle in his hand like this. It showed up on the screen. He put it down on the floor. No one reacted. He did this. Everybody else started clapping behind him. That was it.
You know what's crazy? The committee screwed me
You'd have
because
been 4 for 4.
preseason I came on this show and I said my full team playoff is Alabama, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State. Those were my 4 playoff teams. And funny enough, my national title pick was Michigan over Alabama. So this is the thing. Alabama should feel like they could walk Michigan up and down that field and wear them out. Jalen Milroe, like I said, this team we just saw them need a prayer to beat Auburn. So I'm not sure that this is those Alabama teams. Kool-Aid McKinstry got hurt the other day. I'm not sure what the extent of the injury is. The thing that I don't like, though,
I
I
think
don't like.
they got a month. So any
Yeah, that's what
injury,
I
they
was
got
about
a
to
month.
say.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. That's what I don't like is that we got to wait a month for this. I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if they play today, it would look different than if they played, in 3 weeks or whatever. I don't know. But I'm interested in the Washington, Texas game, because it's a rematch of the Alamo Bowl from last year. Washington came down here to great old San Antonio, walked out 27-20. And everybody's been doubting Washington all year long, and I'm sure that 73% or more of people are going to pick Texas to win this game.
You know what? I mean, you got to keep in mind, a lot of people can be swayed. It's a lot of conversations that are going to be had every day. Podcasts, sports groups, TV shows. It's going to be conversations every day about who can do this, who's a surprise pick, who not to count out. Michael Penix Jr. being a Heisman finalist, he's going to be on TV all the time. It's going to start, people are going to start swaying. I think it'll probably be, I'll say 59-41 by the time the game comes around, especially if they give a favor, if they favor Washington.
Well, the Washington is favorite right now. I believe I saw 4.5. The over
So,
under was 63 or so.
so you'll get 8 to
Michigan,
10 of people thinking like, yo, Vegas might be on to something. So I think it'll be
Michigan,
closer. The Michigan, Alabama.
Michigan was favored by 2.5, and the over under was 45.5.
Oh, I'm taking that. 45 and a half.
45.5. That's what
We just
that's what it
got
opened as. Let me
we
see
just
what it
got
is right
50. We just got 51.
on against Georgia.
Auburn and Auburn and Alabama was 51 points. 45 and a half.
Yeah, Georgia and Alabama was 51. 27-24. I think it was same score than as the Auburn game.
Yeah. So like I
But
said, they
yeah,
won the
so
last two
so
games
looking at it
combined
right
by
now, looking at it right now at this moment that we're having this conversation, Michigan is favored by 1.5 now. Still 45.5. And actually, maybe I had that wrong. Texas is favored by 4 with the over under 64.5. So
we
the
got
over under
Lakers up 10 at the end of one in LA over Phoenix in the
knockout
quarterfinals of
round.
in season tournament.
Knockout round. Kings and Celtics got knocked out last night.
So we think about college football playoff matchup. Did they get it right?
I don't think we can answer that question because
Until
it's
you see Florida State, Georgia.
no. It's just. See, I don't know how that works, right? So like for example, back in 2011, I want to say it was 2011. VCU was in the first 4, and they made it to the Final Four. And then people said, well, maybe VCU wasn't really a last 4 team. Maybe they were. Maybe they just got hot. So I don't know if now this is the problem. If they were playing this week and we saw certain results, I think we could say that. But after a month, I don't know if we could say the same thing. I just don't know how that works as far as
I remember like that whole month time frame. Urban Meyer, what he said he did was that they treated every week like they had a game on Saturday. So they practice the same schedule, same speed. I'm pretty sure it's modified, as far as for
right.
sleeping and the holidays, so forth and so on. But he's like, we treated it like a regular week. This was Florida Urban Meyer, where
Mm-hmm.
Troy Smith was going around all these banquets. They said he put on like 10 pounds
Mm-hmm.
because he was going everywhere for the Heisman. He was going all these awards. He was just traveling, going to New York, just going here and there. And if you go to New York, the first thing you're going to smell is pee off the rip. And then you're going to smell food. And the food will be like, damn, it's pee out here, but this food smells good too. Like you'll smell it everywhere. So if he was in New York for 3 days, he ate well. But like Urban Meyer said, yeah, we just treated every week like it was game week. And this was back in 2007, I believe.
2000. Yep.
That's when they played their last game in November.
Yeah, that's when my guy
And
Ted Ginn broke his leg, celebrating the kickoff return.
yeah, we got tackled. Like I remember seeing that shot. It was aggressive. But I had picked Ohio State going away in that game. But Florida did their thing. Chris Leak, and they had the freshman guy named Tim Tebow who was coming like a battering ram. But it's just a matter of like, how do you prepare for this? And if you think about it, who's been in this situation more out of the 4 coaches? And the
Saint Nick.
St. Nick.
But
So that gives him such an
the other
advantage.
piece of that,
He knows how to keep them. He knows how to keep the guys focused. He knows how to keep them ready. He knows how to keep the coaches ready. He just knows what it looks like. He knows
but the
he
other
knows
piece
what
of
it
that,
looks like when a guy's getting. He knows what it looks like when a guy's thinking about other stuff besides the next game.
see the other piece of that This is his first time in the playoff as a head coach. But Sark was on that staff for a couple of those.
Come on, man. Sark's not wired that way. I had Sark as an offensive coordinator in Atlanta with Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. I was like, get rid of this dude. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Hey, in
He's
college, he's in his bag though,
he's
but
in Texas. He's in Texas. I can recruit in Texas. I can go to 14 high schools in Texas and build a team for Texas Longhorns.
so could
I wouldn't
Jeff
have to leave.
Trailer, but ain't nobody giving him a job.
I wouldn't leave the state, and I could field a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
So,
if he was doing this in Iowa, I'm like,
all right, so,
whatever.
so so you made it. So you made it known that you think Alabama's gonna put the mollywop down.
Yeah.
What about the other game?
Washington, Texas. Shout out to the Pac-12 last year of it. Utah, Colorado. I like life out west. I was born in Texas, kind of torn. I think Texas has real talent. I think, like I said, I think their depth offensively and defensively, even with the running back being out, I just think what they were able to do with the amount of talent. Because sometimes you can have so much talent, not know what to do with it. And some coaches they'll just play the same guys. When they play that game against Rice, granted, I know it was like 100 degrees on the field. It was crazy warm. But they were doing that heavy rotation. I think that's just such a wise decision. I'm always, dumping on Sark or whatever because he used to be offensive coordinator in Atlanta. But as far as like the ability to use that talent to keep kids fresh, matter of fact, shout out to my 90-pound football the 105ers, 105-pound 105 football team. Sorry, their coach in our league, they won their championship this past weekend. He had a lot of packages, even though these kids are, applaud. Shout out to Terry. He would send in 3 different kids and bring 3 kids out on offense and defense. He was like constantly rotating kids in and out. So everyone's engaged, everyone's getting action, and then everyone's fresh. So it was constant in and out, in and out, in and out. I think having that type of mindset, it really helps out with a team. I'm not sure how deep Washington is. I know they played well. I know they're one of the top defenses. You say they had the best resume.
Yeah, I've
Their
never seen
defense, they beat Oregon twice, so you got a Heisman quarterback who's in his 5th year playing at that supreme
I've never
level.
seen a superstar miss as many layups as LeBron.
Did he just miss one?
He missed like 3, like in that one play.
Oh, I see it. Yep, missed it. Tipped it. Yep.
But anyway, yeah, I really like Kalen DeBoer, head coach at Washington. I really like him a lot. My early read on this game is that over under is correct. That 64, that is correct. There will be points in this game.
Yeah, 35-31 kind of game.
The one thing that I was concerned about Washington about 5 or 6 weeks ago was their lack of a run game. And I'd be damned if they ain't turned it on and been running the ball, ran it all down Oregon's throat. And it's what I said, right? I didn't think Oregon matched. Now, I'm not going to bang on them. It was a close game both times they played Washington. But I just didn't think Oregon was who the committee thought Oregon was, because that's why I wonder what would have happened if Oregon would have won, because they went into last week as the highest rated one-loss team.
Were they at 5?
They were at 5 last week. So
then
that
they
would
got
have been
in, because we were talking about that.
Right,
we were talking about how is Oregon ahead of Alabama and Texas.
But here we go. So I didn't even want to get back into this, but it gets me back into my thoughts, right? So Alabama was number 8. They beat Georgia, who was number 1. Georgia falls to 6. So how you fall from 1 to 6, first of all, for losing to another top 10 team? That's now Ohio State. They had the Penn State win. They got the Notre Dame win. Their loss was to Michigan in a game that, they were competitive in. I think they lost by 6.
Yeah, 30-24.
30-24. Yep. So, they didn't play for their conference. So, what's the difference between, Here's a question. This is just a hypothetical. What's the difference between not playing for your conference championship? See, I'm teeing you up right now. I'm teeing you up. What's the difference between not playing for your conference championship and playing for your conference championship but losing?
It's a big difference
Is it?
when it
Because I
comes
can't tell.
when it comes down to picking four teams to play for the playoffs. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. The It feels as if the committee, because every year so far, with the exception of we talked about earlier, the 2017 season or
Yes.
the 2017
The
season, the
2016 season, 2017 playoff.
2017 playoff championship.
Right. Right.
Alabama didn't play for the SEC title, but they only had one loss. They got in. That was a year Tua threw the pass to Georgia in overtime in Georgia, versus Georgia
Against
in
Georgia in
overtime in
overtime.
Atlanta.
Right.
So that was an anomaly because Penn State had a couple of losses. Ohio State had you didn't have multiple undefeated teams from Power Five schools, which we haven't had. Most
Mm-hmm.
years we've had easy justifications. The
Right.
TCU Baylor year, they didn't have a conference championship game, and they
Why
didn't
are you
and they
doing this
didn't
to me?
and they didn't determine a champ. They called them co-champions.
But riddle me this. Riddle me this. Have you ever heard somebody say something that just sounded dumb to you and you knew better than they knew? Because, for example, that year, Baylor beat TCU head to head, but
And
Baylor had the
Baylor was
weakest
ahead of
schedule ever,
TCU at the
you
end,
know.
and they were ahead of them, and they
But that
looked
was the
like
argument. But that was the argument. The argument on TV was if they played today, TCU would win. But that wasn't even where I was going with it. But the problem is that the Big 12 at that time had 10 teams. They were the only conference in the country where everyone played everyone.
cool. That's not a
Big
championship
12
game.
had it. It don't got to be a championship game. I am
You're
the
a retired Air
champion.
Force guy. You're a
I'm
retired
the,
Air Force guy. Listen, you're a retired Air Force guy. I'm a retired Air Force guy.
I'm the champion.
We're both going up to be a first sergeant, right? We're both going up to be a first sergeant. Our packages are essentially the same: military service medals, accommodation medals, deployment, this position, this position, this position. So it's like, boom, your PT score was a 92.5, mine was an 85.7. We'll take him. Because all I need is the thing that I can say I'm resting my decision on. That's all the committee needs. The committee doesn't need strength of schedule. They don't need strength of out of conference games. They
It
don't
is pretty
need win
impressive.
percentage. They don't need win percentage of opposing coaches in the other time zones.
I
All
have
they
to
need
say,
is something tangible that they can rest their decision on. And that's what they've done every year. It's just except every year it's been easy for them to make that decision. And then every time they do the nice thing, putting Cincinnati in, putting Hawaii in, put in Michigan State, and they get mollywopped, it makes it easier the following year to not put UCF in, to not put a team like Liberty or even Cincinnati. Like it was very tough for Cincinnati to get in a couple years ago.
that was Notre
But
Dame's fault.
it's like, so that's the thing that, like, I think people are trying to. I think people are arguing a couple of different rationales. It's like the committee only cares about the package that you put on their desk. Like I said, they don't care how good of a senior until you were or how good of a senior until I was. All they care about is like, this is the package, this is the job. This guy got an 85, this guy got a 92. We're taking the guy who's more physically fit. Boom. You might not be stronger than me. You just might you might have had a smaller waist and got more points. But they don't care about the nuance of that. They don't look at the how many push-ups I did versus how many push-ups you did. They don't look at the sit-ups. They don't look at if you ran yours outside in January and I ran mine indoors because it was raining hard in June. None of that stuff factors in. That factors in the conversation between me and you. But when it goes to the committee, I just need something I can rest my decision off of. So I'm looking at all these slip backs, 92, 85. I'm taking the 92. Boom. And that's what they've done every year.
I have to say, it is impressive to me that somehow Alabama ended up with the 5th rated strength of schedule when they had Middle Tennessee, Chattanooga, South Florida on their schedule. That's pretty impressive. But
Because that's that
anyway,
Venn diagram that spins out and it counts all these other things and all this and all of that stuff. The committee didn't come out and say that. They did not. They came out with the one thing that they had. So
this is what I want to tell people though. You know what I mean? Next season, when your favorite team doesn't get left out of the playoff because it's a 12-team playoff, you just remember Hove did that, so hopefully you didn't have to go through that. You know what I'm saying? But now we got all these bowl games, and I tell you what, it is slim pickings. These games are terrible. These teams are terrible. Even my beloved Maryland Terps are playing the aforementioned Auburn Tigers. Utah is being relegated to playing Northwestern. You know, Troy and Duke is probably one of the better bowl games. Well, it was going to be if Mike Elko and Riley Leonard were there, but Troy should win now. But I tried my hardest to come up with 5 bowl games to not include the New Year's Six. And it was hard. I was like, I should change my mind and include the New Year's Six because that's where all the good bowl games are. But so I tried to come up with 5 bowl games that I'm interested in because I'm a sicko. Here we go.
let's hear it.
Not in order. They're just games that I wrote down. Are you ready to laugh now?
Absolutely. Let's see what we got.
The first bowl on my list is the Pop-Tart Bowl.
What the hell?
The Pop-Tarts Bowl down in Orlando, where they have an edible mascot. I don't even know how that works. But anyway, Kansas State against NC State. NC State is the quietest 9-3 team you ever heard of. They beat Clemson. They did lose to Louisville. I don't know how any of that works. They lost to Notre Dame, you know, but Kansas State, you know, they were my preseason pick to win the Big 12, beat Texas in the Big 12 title game. They didn't quite get there. Will Howard, their stud quarterback, is in the transfer portal now, but they got Avery Johnson, who played this year a lot. So, you know, they were rotating both quarterbacks. So this is a new era of Kansas State football that I'm interested to see get underway. Here locally, the Alamo, how the Alamo was won. Arizona against Oklahoma. Now
it's
I
on
know.
a Thursday. It's on a Thursday at 9:15. You going?
I'm going. You know, well. I'm going if VetTix allows me to go because I'm still trying to see if I'm gonna have a job, you know, by that day. but you know, Dylan Gabriel in the transfer portal. But all I've heard all season long was how Jackson Arnold was going to unseat Dylan Gabriel anyway, and how Jackson Arnold is going to be the next great college football quarterback to come out of Oklahoma. So I'm ready to get this started. Noah Fatita on the other side for Arizona, 9-3. You know, had the overtime, lost to USC. You know, didn't get to play Oregon, lost to Washington by a score in a game that everybody criticized Washington for, only for Arizona to have a chance to go to the Pac-12 title game the last week of the season, you know. Then the Armed Forces Bowl up in Fort Worth, not Arlington, not Dallas, Fort Worth.
Armed Forces Bowl. What we got?
James Madison representing Harrisonburg, Virginia.
You're
against off we go into the wild blue yonder. You know, so only problem here, because I said it's slim pickings, right?
Yeah.
James Madison's coach is now the head coach at Indiana. You know, I don't know if
I don't want to hear any of these coaches talk about the transfer portal as much as they transfer.
I don't know if Bloomington is any worse than Harrisonburg or if it's any better than Harrisonburg or if they're on the same level. But my God, could you have gotten a better job? Now, granted, he's 63 years old, but still. Uh,
I'm not moving at 63.
but still. Well, Willie Fritz is 63, and by the way, he's moving to Houston. Just like somebody said a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, James Madison Air Force. Then the Pinstripe Bowl. Mr. Logical better go to this game up in the Bronx, Miami, the Hurricanes against Rutgers.
Man, I'm not going. You know how far? You know how long it takes to get to the Bronx?
I said Rutgers.
Yeah, Jersey, we in the building, but yeah, if they was playing at Rutgers, I think about it.
This is an old Big East game. That Miami owned Rutgers up and down the field. Greg Schiano is back, got Rutgers back bowling, so I'm interested to see this. We'll see if Cristobal runs the ball, if he has a chance,
to win the game.
Yeah,
let me check the date on that one because I just was looking at that. See that I mean, depends on what day of the week it is. It's a Thursday afternoon, 2:15.
Yeah, you got PTO. You know what I'm saying?
Barely.
Then my last game, and they could do better with these bowl names. The Texas Bowl over in H-Town. We got a former Big 12 rivalry going on. So if you can't get Texas and Oklahoma, you just settle for Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. So I'm looking forward to that. My oldest is about to be an Aggie, so I got my eye out on that. Jimbo gone. Transfer portal is hollering. Mike Gundy, I never miss a Mike Gundy game. I never miss a Mike Gundy press conference. So I'm here.
Man. I'm 40.
I'm here for all of that. But I couldn't include, I didn't want to include the New Year's Six, but looking at the New Year's Six real quick. How about those Lynchburg, Virginia, Liberty Flames going up against Oregon, who, according to Dan Lanning, Bo Nix is going to play. Now, I don't know if that means he's going to play a half or a quarter, or I doubt he's going to play the whole game. But, I mean, then again, he might not need to anyway. But
yeah. No,
Liberty did.
I mean, does he have real, NFL high draft stock?
I don't think so, in my personal opinion. But I've seen him in some first-round mocks this year. He still looked like the same quarterback to me. He just got faster dudes around him. Ohio State and Missouri is a game that I was looking forward to until I saw Kyle McCord enter the transfer portal. That took a little luster off the game. Who's going to play? Is Marvin Harrison going to play? I doubt it. Julian.
I saw something saying he was talking about transferring. I'm like, you better transfer to the NFL.
No, they made that up.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just Julian Fleming is in the transfer portal. Ohio State had 2 or 3 defensive backs jump in the transfer portal. So I don't know what we're going to get against Missouri. Is Luther Burden going to play for Missouri? We'll see. You got Florida State and Georgia. We talked about that earlier. So, like the New Year's Six. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Oh, yeah. Got a good one.
Penn State. Ole Miss and Penn State. That should be a pretty good game. This is a game that is going to tell, to me, it's going to tell the future of these two coaches. Because James Franklin, we know, he just signed this extension. He's going to be in Happy Valley until 2031. But Penn State fans are tired of his offense. They're tired of him in big games. So what he needs to do is go out here and beat this SEC team. Because what way to tell your fans to shut up
is by actually beating somebody?
Than to beat a top 10 SEC team. Now, if you're Ole Miss, on the other hand, Lane Kiffin, we talked about this. He can't beat the big boys. He can't beat Georgia. He can't beat Bama. Not that many people can, but he can't. So therefore, both of these coaches need this win, to me,
basically,
from a perception standpoint. Yeah, from a perception standpoint. I think they both need this win. James Franklin probably needs it a little bit more because he did fire his offensive coordinator too. But like I said a couple of weeks ago, it doesn't matter if you fire the coordinator if you're still acting the same.
Yeah. If you haven't made any improvements, then it's on you.
You're the decision maker, regardless of who the offensive coordinator is. You're the decision maker.
You're the common denominator in their lack of success
Yeah. So, we still,
offensively.
so Duke is still looking for a head coach. They haven't announced anybody yet. Like I said, Kurt Signetti left James Madison to go to Indiana. Willie Fritz over in Houston. We'll see how that goes. He's won everywhere he's gone. He knows the area. He used to coach at Sam Houston and went to 2 FCS title games. He didn't win. Ran into North Dakota State in one of them. But he did that. Got Tulane to the New Year's Six last year. Got them back to the AAC title game this year, where they lost to SMU. Who is upset? Like, people are upset that they didn't get the New Year's Six invite over Liberty, because Liberty didn't even play a Power 5 team this year on their schedule, not even one. Whereas SMU lost both of theirs to TCU and Oklahoma. So people are using strength of schedule, to say Liberty doesn't belong and SMU should have went.
Yeah, but people are using that stuff to justify their
I
argument. But
know.
really, when it boils down to, after we get this 12-team playoff next year, I don't know who's going to shift the bowls. Is the Music City Bowl going to get to name one of the games after them, or whatever the case may be? I'm pretty sure they'll figure it out when the money plays out.
Well, I
But after
wonder.
after we get to 12, after we get to 12 teams, it's gonna be like, all right, cool. They only focus on the 12 teams, because really right now they only focus about 6 to 8 teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I was going to ask you, do you think that with this 12-team playoff, bowl games are just going to start to fade away?
Now I think they'll just transfer the name over. So they'll probably just rotate. So like the Alamo Bowl, well, maybe not the Alamo Bowl because it's kind of, but it's like, like the ones that take a move, like the Pop Start Bowl or whatever the bowl is. They'll just,
The Duke's Mayo Bowl.
yeah, they'll just change. I think they'll just move that funding source to that, or they'll just renegotiate at the end of this bowl season for people to pretty much be the highest bidder to get your name on the next bowl.
Well, another bowl game that stood out to me. I forgot what bowl it is, but it only like, this is a 2-5 moment. SMU against Boston College. That's an ACC conference game next year.
Well, that's a preview. See if it's going to be worth it. I'm still like bugged that I don't get it. I'm so upset with the way they just basically taken a life out of college football and just went for the money. I mean, you got one conference with like 18 teams, another one's going to have 16. The Pac-12 has 4. I mean, it's just like there's no one stepping in saying this doesn't make any sense, because really, only thing that makes sense is the dollars. As long
Does
as
the
they're
Big Ten
making the
have 20
dollars,
now? No, they
I
have
think
18.
it's 18.
Oh no, the Big 12 has 16.
And the Big 10 has 18,
Has
right?
18. How about that?
SEC has 14 or
SEC
16.
they have 14 right now. I believe they'll have 16 when Texas and Oklahoma come in next year. The ACC has, I think they're going to 16 maybe, because they're getting Cal, Stanford, and SMU.
Because I thought we did the math earlier in one of the earlier podcasts. Somebody's getting 18. SEC was getting, they were going to get Oklahoma and
so the
Texas.
ACC will have 17, because they have the odd number with the third team coming in, because at first it was just Cal and Stanford, and then SMU raised the 30 million in like 7 days or whatever it was.
Oil money.
The Big 12 has 14 right now. They're losing Texas and Oklahoma, takes them to 12. They're getting both both Arizona schools, Utah and Colorado, to get them back to 16. Then the Big 10 has 14 right now, with Washington, Oregon, and the 2 California schools, UCLA and USC, coming in. And then, of course, you'll have to wait and see what Oregon State and Washington State are going to do.
They're going to just suffer.
And, a couple of weeks ago, get it off my chest, I was happy because Oregon State and Washington State won the case to control the Pac-10. And, of course, Washington won an appeal, and looks like they won the appeal. So we're not done here yet. So there you go.
look. So the college football landscape, I'm glad it was kind of chaotic this year. It's kind of cool. Like I liked it. I liked that it was a little chaotic. Like that we're gonna have a new champion. Granted, it could potentially be Alabama as a repeat champion, and the whole SEC winning. What is it? 11 of the last 15
Something
national
like that.
championships.
Might be
Something
even be
like
more
that.
than that. Might be like 13 out of 17. Yeah.
Clemson got 2.
Florida State got 1, and Ohio State
Florida
got 1.
State got 1. Ohio State got 1.
Yep.
In
And
the last
then
15, 20 years, yeah.
And I'm just upset at the developers of NCAA 14 that y'all didn't have the foresight to give us more than 16 teams to a conference. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give us that. You got to have at least 4 in a conference, so you can never have accurate conferences. Until next year, maybe when this game comes out, if it comes out. But how about those Bengals? Monday Night Football. Jake Browning going into Jacksonville. Unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Didn't
It's
look
at a
good.
high ankle sprain.
Yeah, it didn't look good. He couldn't put any weight on it at all. They had a chance. If they'd have won that game last night, they would have been tied with Baltimore and Miami at the top of the AFC.
I kind of like the fact that Jacksonville lost because I think that has Houston at 7-5, the Colts at 7-5,
yeah,
and then Jacksonville's 8-4. I'm all for the end of the season chaos, so the tiebreakers matter, so they're not resting players week 16, 17, 18.
Don't forget the Colts beat the Texans
want it to
already.
Be chaotic.
Don't forget the Colts beat the Texans already. So
and then the Texans and Jacksonville split. So I'm with it. I'm with all the chaos. I hope that they figure out how to play quarterback in New Jersey with the Jets.
Hey, we'll get to that. Don't do it yet. We'll get to that.
But the Bengals look good. I like the way they play. I like the way Jake Brown was out here showing what Washington quarterbacks can do in the league. I like
hey, maybe Zach Taylor can coach.
Yeah, he just went to, when you go to the big dance, you dance who brung you. Late in the game, it was Jamar Chase. Let me get to Jamar Chase. T. Higgins was open on a couple of routes. He probably could have thrown a touchdown to him. But he was like, hey, I know where number 1 is, and I'm going to make that happen. I like Jacksonville.
Was I the only person in America hoping for the tie last night?
I was kind of thinking it. I was low key hoping he missed the field goal just so I could get CJ Beathard back out there because he looked like he was like real loose on the sideline. I was like, I want to see if he can make something.
He knows the system, So like, but yeah, I was really hoping for the tie. They're so rare. I just wanted one.
Did we have 2 in 1 week last season?
I don't know if it was last season or the year before. I know there was a Houston Indianapolis week 1 tie.
Yeah,
it was last year. It was last year
because Matt Ryan.
Because Wright got fired. He was 3-5-1 when he got fired. Yeah, so that was
that man can't keep a job.
I know it ain't always his fault either. But anyway, off of the Bengals for a second, but the San Francisco. Well, I don't know because Pittsburgh season might be done.
the quarterback injury bug is just it's literally it's changing the draft.
Pittsburgh, I don't even think it mattered.
Yeah, Trubisky is like I don't.
Like
this
I don't
is
think
evidence that
Mike
Tomlin is Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the history of this sport.
Yeah. Well, every week we talk about some new stat of some new quarterback that has surpassed Kenny Pickett on the season.
Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky has more multiple touchdown games than Pickett.
See what I'm saying? Like
his backup.
So Pittsburgh might just be getting ready to get up out of here anyway. Like, obviously Mike Tomlin will find a way to go 9-8 or so.
Yeah,
but they won't make the playoffs.
Trubisky was a starting quarterback. I think one year in Chicago they won 10, maybe 11 games with
I'm looking at the
Trubisky as a
schedule
starter.
right now, trying to see who Pittsburgh plays this week. Oh, how about that?
What's the matchup? What's the matchup for the ages?
Thursday night football.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be terrible.
New England at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember somebody
Oh,
posted it. I think it was Chris. Shout out to Chris. I think he posted it. It was like the NFL is really gonna give us this on Thursday. That should have never been an option anyway.
no, it shouldn't have been.
Like even at full strength, that's not a game that you would want on TV. Like I don't want to see that.
All right, so here's a question for you.
No, Thursday night.
What do you expect from the runner up of the Super Bowl going into Jerry World this weekend after San Francisco did that to them?
I don't think it's as much as San Francisco did that to them. I think San Francisco just is in a groove. I think when they have all their horses, they're unguardable offensively.
Yeah, they just get
And
open,
I
and Brock
think,
Purdy just gets, throws it to open people all the time.
like, I mean, if you think about this, if you think about their you're calling plays, you're Kyle Shanahan. It's 1st and 10, you're on the 25-yard line. I can hand the ball off to McCaffrey behind Trent Williams and Greg Kittle to the right. That's one play I can call. I can have McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel in the backfield, and I can run some screen action off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I can put Ayuk in the slot, McCaffrey out wide, go 5 wide, and throw it to Kittle on the seam on the other side. I could throw a tight end screen to Kittle. I could throw a bubble screen to Ayuk. I could throw a bubble screen to Deebo Samuel. I could do that all day long. There's
Yep.
not a team in the league that has that luxury
Yeah,
on
then you still
every
got
down.
Jawan
And then
Jennings.
Jawan Jennings, you bring in
You got
Elijah
Bell.
Mitchell. You bring in you're just wired differently. And then okay, defensively, okay, I got Bosa. Okay, I got Chase Young.
Imagine
Oh, I
if
got
they
Fred
had
Warner.
like a Peyton Manning or somebody like that.
No, that's the thing. They don't need a Peyton Manning. They
I
have
know.
one. Like what Brock Purdy does with the ball in his hand. He makes on time, accurate throws downfield, over routes, screen passes. Seam like he does it all. Like there's no weakness in his game other than maybe he might be a little undersized. He might be more 6 foot 195 ish versus like probably what they got him listed like 6'1". They probably got listed at 6'1", 6'1 and a half, 210. He's probably closer to 6 foot 190, something like that, 195. They probably got him listed at 6'1" something.
6'1", 220.
Hell no. Him and McCaffrey the same height.
I said 220.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I seen him walk into the thing with a medium jean jacket on in Philly. Dude is not 220 pounds. Get out of here. He could be 220 pounds with 25 pounds of weight on his back. Cut it out.
So back to the original question. I know we're not doing. We're not doing predictions tonight. But can Philly bounce back in Dallas?
Yeah, I think they can bounce back because I think what they do well travels. They don't rely on. They're not relying on like unskilled, like underdeveloped skill players. I got Antonio Brown. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. They have Jalen Hurts. Swift is just a beast out of the backfield. Their offensive line. Of course, you have the third and 1, 4th and 1, brotherly shove. So you're keeping drives going. You're frustrating the defensive line with that play. So, and then defensively, I think they just got to figure out what to do up front because the back end is not good. Like I said before, that little middle section, something in that range. Either they need to play a safety more like a linebacker or just flat out just bring a safety in the play linebacker. That way he can also cover in the middle because that's where they seem to be getting beat is like they're missing something right there that's always open. Like somebody's always open in the middle of the field.
Where's old CJ Gardner Johnson?
Yeah, he went to Detroit and he got injured.
Yeah. But I'm just saying,
they got the guy Blankenship, but it seems like he kind of gets picked on.
Mhm.
It just seems as if like they brought Byard,
He's one of those gritty football players, like, but he doesn't have the
real
like
gym rat,
athleticism.
real scrappy
Yeah,
guy. You
he's
know,
like what I think about Austin Reeves.
a real locker room guy. You know what I mean? So, but that's what it is. So that's their flaw is that area. If they
And
can get the
then,
push up front, then they're good to go. But if they don't get that initial push, which doesn't happen every play, the offensive
mhm.
linemen are, 6'4", 6'5", 330, 350 pounds. Like these guys are big guys. So if they stay on their blocks, yeah, occasionally you're gonna get through. You're gonna have a guy who gets 10 or 11 sacks a year. But that doesn't happen. You play 17 games, guys only get 10, 11 sacks. So
Then
that's what's going on. Like they can't get that pass rush every single time. And there's gaps behind the linebackers. So
yeah, then poor
I don't know if Dak
Seattle.
can take care of
Uh,
that, but we'll see.
and then poor Seattle going into Levi this weekend. That's going to be a tough task. Especially they just played them 2 weeks ago on Thanksgiving. Got whooped. Played the hearts out against Dallas last week, where DK Metcalf was trying to have a Randy Moss moment, and they
Yo,
just
his
couldn't pull it
sign
out.
language trash talk is
Yeah, A tier. Yeah,
it is TO level,
or
Hall of
what?
Fame level trash talk.
What is it? Sonic the Hedgehog, the S level.
Yo, it's bananas. I love it. I think it's dope. Uh, hopefully Seattle keeps him around. I know, like when you have a bad season, it's like this. You just want to purge. I hope they keep him around, but it's going to be
what,
a
what
tough
happened to
game.
what
San
happened?
Francisco's ready to go.
What happened to the
I think
champs?
the Kansas City Chiefs,
Mm-hmm.
Hubris, Icarus flew too close to the sun and got his wings burned.
Well, they are playing in my favorite game this week.
Which game is that?
Buffalo.
That's your game. The
That's my
problem with
game, man.
Buffalo is that if you get on them, they will fall apart.
I might have to watch First Things First Monday morning. Maybe I'll
I
watch it Friday too.
I think that Buffalo, because Kansas City, they knew this the same way I knew it in October, that your wide receiver core, maybe because it was warmer and maybe they were like a little bit more fluid, maybe it didn't look the same way on film. But I watch these games now. Patrick Mahomes is making great throws, but he has to because they're not getting any separation from defenders. MVS is
Well, except for
Sky
that
Moore.
Monday night game where MVS dropped that pass.
Yeah. And he got separation in the
You,
game
you,
against
you, you know,
Green Bay. But before that, like 3rd and 8, there's no 3rd and 8. If you double Kelsey, you you might get them off the field.
I saw that play where MVS dropped the pass on Monday Night Football, and it made me think of Garoppolo missing Emmanuel Sanders, just the reverse because this one was the receiver's fault. But I Kansas City, I just don't know what to do with them because the AFC
You
is
got to be
outside.
honest. That's the thing. We got to be honest. They are not. They are a one. Like I'm calling it now. They are a one and done playoff team.
Well, outside the problem is outside of Baltimore and to a lesser degree Miami. I don't know who else in the AFC can beat the Chiefs.
Anyone who
The
can
Chargers
double
can't.
Travis Kelsey,
Chargers can't beat them. Denver actually beat them a couple of weeks ago, but I don't
double
know if
Travis
Denver's.
Kelsey.
But I don't know
Just
if
look at
Denver's
the
going to
Denver
get to the
game.
playoffs. I don't know if Denver's
Yeah,
going to get to the playoffs.
you don't
If
have
it's the
to just take the Denver game.
okay, so
Take the second
you said
half
the
of the
Chiefs are one
last
and
four
done.
games.
You said the Chiefs are one and done.
I mean, I saw something yesterday, and I could just be a little hyperbolic or whatever.
Well, I was going to say, what if they
But
play the Colts in the first
they're
round?
gonna they're gonna they're gonna get like they potentially could get some cupcake. No, I want to say cupcake, but like a team that is a surprise. They could get a Houston. They could get Indy. Maybe Jacksonville slips. Trevor comes back in a couple weeks, and they get it. Or even, but it says something in the situation like if Buffalo goes on a little run and they get the, which probably be, I'm assuming Kansas City, is probably going to be a
They're-
3 seed.
Well, they're 8-4 right now.
They have the tiebreaker with Miami,
They have the tiebreaker with Jacksonville.
tiebreaker with Jacksonville. So I figured the next few weeks is going to be a lot of, we got to figure this out. So I got Kansas City finishing the year probably like 10-7. I haven't looked at their schedule, but just thinking about the way that they're playing, I got them winning a couple of games. If
Well,
they got a game left with the Chargers, I figure they
aren't
take
you
that.
lucky? Well, aren't you lucky that I got their
Hit
schedule
the
in my hand
schedule.
right now?
All right, let's go. So they're 8-4 right now,
Eight and
correct?
four. Yes, they
5
got
games left
Buffalo at home.
at home
At home.
in Arrowhead.
Yes. Buffalo coming off the bye though, that makes me a
Okay,
little nervous.
give me the next one.
The next one is easy. At Foxborough,
Okay,
at home against the Raiders,
okay,
at home against Cincinnati,
okay.
and close at the Chargers.
God damn it!
That's what I'm saying. Even if they were to lose to Buffalo this week,
I just don't think
they win out after that.
Even if they finish 12-5, to me, it doesn't feel like 12-5. It feels like
right now,
Mahomes got them 6 wins, and it just like I said, just I don't like the way they're. Like I said, if you put Mahomes, if Mahomes had the Atlanta wide receiving core, he'd have the MVP numbers. I mean, granted, he would still need to bring Anne Marie.
17-0. You said the Falcons was going, or 15-2. You said the Falcons was going to do.
I mean, you got Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts, Mac Hollins. You got Scotty Miller, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Algier, Cordero Patterson. I mean, like that's a juggernaut for a quarterback that can make all the throws.
Imagine if they have.
He has a wide receiver. He has a. I mean, no one's doing anything with Arthur Smith, but with Andy, I think with Andy Reid, Kelsey, and Mahomes, I think the three of them are looking at the receiving core like, yo, do you not understand what we've been doing here for the last 5 years?
Right.
Like, if you just get to this spot, just get there, make it look like I can throw it to you. Because if you're never open, the defense will never have to adjust. A lot of times, Tyreek wasn't getting that many targets. He just was so open and so impactful that the safety, the corner, and the linebacker underneath would have to watch Kelsey off the line and get depth and try to like watch Tyreek to help these guys out. But I'm like, like Scott Moore, you can single cover him all day. Kadarius Toney, you can single cover him all day. You can single cover every single wide receiver in Kansas City all game long.
Yeah, ain't nobody.
That's why MVS is wide. That's why he's wide open on those passes because they're like, listen, we're not going to double anyone. We're going to double Kelsey, and that's the problem. So if you are a playoff caliber coach and you get Kansas City, it's like, listen, man, I'll give you everybody else. I'm gonna play 2 deep safety. I'm a man up with these guys underneath, and I'm a bracket Kelsey. Go, because you know they're not going to run the ball 30 times. They're just not. Patrick Mahomes is not going to do what Mac Jones did in the win against Buffalo and just hand the ball off because that's good for the team. Because he knows I can make this throw if you get to this spot. The problem is they don't get to the spot, and I think he's gonna throw an untimely pick, just like he did against Green Bay, because it's like finally I have a chance. We got the ball back. I can take the lead. I gotta do it now because I don't believe if we give this ball back, we can get it back and score. Because like I got it now, I gotta force it. And they thought they were in a good groove.
Yo, nobody got the Rams wrong the way that we got the Rams wrong.
Woo! I was thinking about that. I didn't want to bring that up. Why'd you do that?
6-6.
I had them 4-13 to 3-14, but I had the same thing for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think I had them 5-12 or something. I said at best 7-10 is what I said, but they're 6-6. They're ahead of Seattle. They swept Seattle, so they're in second place right now. You know, that in the NFC West. Probably still not going to make the playoffs.
Football doesn't make any sense. So anyone who said football is scripted, anybody who's really sitting in their house with their thumbs on their Twitter fingers or their Twitter fingers ready to fly off, talking about the NFL script, blah blah blah. Yeah. No one's scripting a 6-6 Rams team, a 6-6 Falcons in first place.
Even as much as we both like Detroit, I don't think neither one of us had them like 9-3 right now.
I I think I think we did. I think we had them.
I think we had them like 11-6, maybe.
We had them somewhere pretty because what our it was like Minnesota couldn't do the one score game 2 years in a row and go double digit wins. I think we thought Chicago was going to be better because they had a solid
No,
receiving core.
I think you thought Chicago was going to be better. I didn't think Chicago was going to be better.
Then I was fooled because I
Well,
just
actually,
like,
no. I think we both picked Green Bay last, though.
yeah, no, did we?
I think we did.
I
Well,
play. I could. I
no.
could.
I
I'll
think
check
you
the notes.
did. I think you did. But yeah, I don't know. But either way, so Chicago. I mean, Minnesota and Green Bay, both 6-6 right now. Chicago's 4-8. You know, Chicago gets another shot at Detroit this week, so we'll see how that goes.
You think these coaches, like, what point do they start just playing for the draft picks? Around like week,
It has to be. It has to be either this
like
week or
next
next
week,
week.
right?
Yeah, has
Because
to be.
like, why is Arizona here trying to win games?
Because you said it. They're trying to, I guess, show everybody that hey,
Show off Kyler
Tyler's
Murray.
okay. Yeah, he's okay. Come give us these picks and money.
Yeah, but
You
if
know,
Baker Mayfield is doing his thing, then Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is probably the only team that would really want to trade for a quarterback because I don't know where their draft is going to be because they're in a division that they can win. So I think they're going to fight to win
but they
and
ain't going to.
they end up 8-9.
Yeah, I think
Atlanta's going to win the
we
division
both
at nine
had
and eight.
Tampa. I think we both had Tampa something like 3-14.
Because I just felt like I thought Todd Bowles was going to be not end over his head, but I just felt like I didn't think the marriage between Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield was going to work because I thought the expectations would be a little high in Tampa Bay coming off the Tom Brady years.
All right, last one. Are you buying Dak for MVP?
No. No, not because of Dak. I just think that I think the argument can be made for Brock. So because right now he has a 5-game win streak, 3-game losing streak, 4-game.
He missed 2 games, right?
I don't think he missed any games.
Or he might have missed 1. I thought he had the
concussion. They had a bye.
Oh, okay. When they lost after they lost to Cincinnati.
They had the bye, and then the bye. I think he had the concussion. Did he leave the game with a concussion? I think he might have left the game with a concussion, but I can't remember. But I know they had the 3-game losing streak. Now he's on another 4-game win streak. And his numbers are just bananas. People can try to poo-poo it all they want. Shout out to Rob Parker. But his numbers are bananas. Dak, I think Dak is, if you're a Dallas quarterback, you can't say he's quietly having a good season or quietly having a great season because they're so loud. The fan base is loud. The pundits who like them are loud. The owner is loud.
The pundits that hate him are loud.
The pundits that hate him are loud. So it's just like the fans that dislike that hate him are loud. So it just creates a different layer of like this scrutiny on Dak, coupled with the fact that someone will be like, well, Tyreek's season is phenomenal. Christian McCaffrey's season is phenomenal. So I think their seasons, hopefully the Tyreek, can we get a wide receiver because he is the value to the Miami Dolphins. And we can use Kansas City as an example. I know people want to use last year's Kansas City winning a Super Bowl as like a knock on Tyreek. But if we look at this year, last year they played better. They had Juju, and Juju's not a great deep threat, but Juju is a savvy wide receiver that on 3rd and 9, if Kelsey's not open, Juju's open. So MVS can play the whole maybe I can catch a deep bomb kind of position. And you have Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire and McKinnon was healthy last year. So I think Tyreek this year is showing that little motion where he runs like straight out. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like when they're in like the little bunch formation, and he just turns and he just runs straight towards the sideline. That completely confuses the entire side of that defense for at least a split second. And then he still gets upfield, and then Tua throws it to Waddle. So then they're like, so he does it again. He gets upfield and he just sits in the middle, gets a pass, and he outruns guys in the end zone. So what Tyreek is doing, I know people are gonna poo-poo the numbers. Shout out Rob Parker again, because he's gonna have 17 games, and if he beats Megatron's record in the 15th game, I think he has to have like a crazy game in between. Like he has to have like 175,
All right,
180
let's
yard
see.
game
Let's look at
to
this.
jump that pace. 'Cause I think right now he's on pace for 2,098 yards, but that's with 17 played games.
Mm-hmm.
So if he gets around like 1,800 with 3 games left, because they have 5 games left. So whatever he's at now,
So he's at so the record is 1964.
correct.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Tyreek Hill, as of this moment, has 1481.
So 1481.
So that's 500 and let's see, 81. I said no, that's 470 or 83, something like
Yeah,
that.
483.
Yeah.
And they have 5 games left.
Yep.
So divided by 5. That's 96 a game. So if he
He can do
comes out
that.
here,
But
so
I mean, but to break it,
483
in 16 is going to be
minus
tough.
250. So if
So
he gets 125 over the next couple of weeks, that gives him 3 games to get 233. But the way they're throwing that ball in Miami, he might get one of these 145, 150-yard games. They might even, the little pat pass or whatever, where on like the jet sweep
yeah.
where it counts as a reception,
Well, he should
and
have a good game. He should have a
get him
good
on the
game this
edge.
week. They got Tennessee this week, so he should have a good game.
Yeah. So
they got Tennessee this week, Jets next week. Oh, and by the way, the Tennessee game is Monday Night Football. They got the Jets.
Standalone game. Yeah, I think Mike McDaniels is gonna go. Just gonna go after that.
They got the Jets the week after. They got Dallas after that, at Baltimore, and then they close with Buffalo at home.
So he's got to get like 300 yards in the next 2 weeks,
Which is possible.
which is possible.
But I used to always sit around and people used to tell me, Bill Jackson is the greatest coach of all time. And people would say, well, yeah, he had Mike and Kobe. And then I was like, if he could be a coach, I could be a coach. I can't, but I was just saying, I can't do what he did. You know what I mean? But I could probably do what Mo Salah's doing. I could probably do what Art Smith's doing.
He said Mo Salah again. That means
I did say Mo Salah.
That's 2 weeks in a row. We have
I know
some world football.
Yeah, hey, I let you get away with your Greg Kittle earlier.
Oh my goodness, I said it a lot. I was killing it, and I was killing the other guy, Paulo Banquero. I kept calling him Pablo.
Yeah.
For a few weeks.
Escobar status.
Yeah. So, like, once again, I'm not an advocate for somebody to lose their job. I'm just an analyst of, a sport that I really like. I really like football. I've always liked it. And when I watch the way Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniels, Sean McVay, Arthur Smith, Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton, where these guys call plays, it all looks different. Andy Reid. But what I was watching Sunday afternoon at MetLife Stadium, Jets versus Falcons, I was talking to a Jet fan and a Falcons fan, and I was like, it looks like neither one of these coaches know what they're doing. They're just doing just enough to not fail.
Was there a point during that game where you thought the Jets could win?
Yeah, every time they got the ball back, because the score. Because what was going on is that, so I got there, checked in, and I was like, just kind of get to my seats, whatever. I missed most of the first quarter because it just drive through traffic and it was raining. So we got to the game. They punted the ball down to the 1. Jets pushed through Bijan Robinson. They
Mhm.
tried to, and then Arthur Smith literally runs the same plays every week. I mean, I could like I'm sitting in the stand scouting it out. So they stack up the fullback, and then it's like a pistol formation, and they stretch it to the left or they stretch it to the right. It's and maybe they run a little play action off of it, but it's so obvious that you're only doing that that the
Mhm.
defense doesn't have to react. It's like they wait for the handoff, and if it's a play action, if you get anybody anywhere near wide receiver, Desmond Ritter's not throwing the ball. If it's supposed to be a deep post, if you have anybody there, anybody, not even in position, just running. Drake London can be running, hitting the post. The ball should be gone. He doesn't throw it. He does not throw it. And then at one time he did throw it deep, got intercepted, but they got an illegal contact and brought it back. So the score was 2-0. Then Atlanta got a touchdown. It was 7-2.
I remember 13-8.
And then they got the field goal. So then they got the field goal. It was like yes, it was like
7 to
7-5.
5.
And then 13-5, and then 13-8, and that was the game. So like the game was at 13-8 for I'm probably say from the end of the third quarter to the end of the game. I believe what the final score ended up being. It was Tim Boyle. He should never have been starting in the NFL. Like they should be ashamed of themselves for even lying to
Would
themselves.
Zach Wilson have won that game?
Probably because I think Zach would at least scrambled. I think Zach would have had a little bit more confidence. I think he would have hit Garrett Wilson a lot more on some of those routes because Atlanta's defense is good. They were playing well and it was raining, but neither team did anything that fooled me. And I'm drinking beer in the second row. Like I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game. I watched Atlanta's formation. We got a turnover. I'm sitting next to a couple Falcons fans. I was like, all right, we're gonna get a stretch play to the left on first down. They ran it to the right. I wasn't right every time, but like the play call, I was like, all right, we're gonna get a play action here. They did it. And I look at the formation, I look at it down a distance. I'm like, oh, we get another run to the left. And it was like, if I could sit here with no clipboard, no Microsoft tablet at the game, like I'm on the Falcon
I
sideline,
didn't even study no game film.
no game film. And I'm just like, so you just knew it just was so poor. So then they put Trevor Simeon in. So like that just lets me know, like, yo, you guys aren't serious about what you're doing. You are trying to play out these trade agendas and these marketing agendas and these money agendas live in the front of us. There's no reason for water pistol armed Trevor Simeon to be in the game. He kept fumbling the ball. He either held onto the ball too long because he hasn't got first team reps in I don't know how many years in the rain, so he was getting sacked or he was getting hurried. And then the one time Atlanta had a good defensive play, knocked the ball out of his hand, our guy scooped it. The referee, she comes in waving it off as incomplete. And like everyone knows, you let that play out, especially when it got scooped up on the sideline, in between the numbers and the sideline. Our guy had it clearly. He's running up the sideline, no one in front of him. You let it play all the way out because they got to review it anyway. All scoring plays are reviewed, but yet she blew it dead. Arthur Smith threw the flag, and then no, it was no, it was the in the it was inside of 2 minutes. I think it was like 40 seconds left. So it was like you could have just let it play out. We would have got the touchdown. At least it would have been some entertainment for me. But instead, they challenge it from the booth, and then Atlanta comes out and takes victory knees, and then you got to beat the traffic out of the parking lot. But it just was like it was a poor game. It was an example of guys who got jobs because they were coordinators for talented players. Derrick Henry got Arthur Smith hired, and then the 49ers defense got Robert Saleh hired.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how is it that Cam Newton's not in the league, but Ron Rivera is. Like I don't think I've ever seen Ron Rivera do anything positive that didn't involve Cam Newton.
Wasn't he on the 85 Bears?
We got to go that far back.
Hey, sometimes, I mean, that's how far back we got to go for Mike Ditka.
Mm.
Shots
You know,
fired. I don't care.
yeah, I've always
Um,
thought Mike Ditka was a bit overrated, but like
Highly overrated personality.
Buddy Ryan was the architect of that team,
Sometimes you can get far in life off of personality.
and Buddy Ryan will punch you in the face even if you're on the same sideline as him.
Yo, sometimes you gotta catch these hands. You gotta catch these hands and know what's really going on in the world.
So
Uh,
I was thinking about this, like as I'm sitting up here watching the Lakers.
just give away a lead.
I don't know how I feel about Darvin Ham. I don't think he's a bad coach.
No, he just doesn't have talent. He doesn't have
Yeah.
the talent you need to win in the way the league is currently designed. The Lakers have been a big, strong ass non-shooting team for years. So sometimes it's not always on the coach. And I'm with that. Like we were talking about Bill Belichick. Sometimes it's not always on the coach. Sometimes it's the organization, sometimes the structure, sometimes it's the people picking the players. In Bill Belichick's case, he is the guy picking the players. So he has to own that. He has to wear that, he has to wear that dunce cap.
Doc Rivers went through
That
that.
Doc Rivers, one of those guys, trading his own kid. Like sometimes you just gotta own, like, yo, I am the guy in the way of the success of this team. Even though I know my talent, my information, my knowledge can get us over the hump, I'm also in this moment I'm in the way. Like when who gave up play calling duties a couple of years back? I think Mike McCarthy gave up play calling duties because he kept missing the situational stuff.
Right.
4th and 1, the
Time
clock,
management.
timeout,
Yeah.
injuries, who can go, substitutions. Are we gonna
Which
fake
is
this
weird
punt?
because he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, come on, man.
I mean Aaron Rodgers, but
Aaron Rodgers was a good hot
Charles
streak. He had a
Woodson,
good run. I mean, like
47-21.
yeah. So like it's a lot of games like that happen that way. But when it comes down to it, it's a lot of guys that you could just tell, like Brandon Staley. No matter what, you if you keep making the same mistake as the head coach, it's because no one's telling you how to fix that mistake because you weren't ready to do it. It's like somebody who has like somebody that's been married a couple times and they got divorced and they tell you they give you the same song like, dog, that's the same reason you got divorced the first time.
Right.
Like who'd you talk to? Who are your board of directors that gives you information and like lets you know like, yo, you're not doing this right.
Right.
Brandon Staley makes the same mistakes every week. Mike McCarthy, people give him a lot of heat. He's went back to back 12-5 seasons. Yes, like every year you don't need to win a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin doesn't have a top flight quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger was old, post Super Bowl, and he's still winning games every single week. Zach Taylor was just show like, oh, he could do it. Doug Peterson's a good coach.
How he won 9 games last year, I still don't have the answer to that question.
He was winning games back. What's the boy's name? Ducky Hayes or Ducky Hodges? A couple years back when Ben Roethlisberger, like 3 years ago, the dude Ducky. Like who is Ducky? I don't know what Ducky Hodges is right now. So it's just some guys can do it, some guys can't. And we can go from east to west, and you can point out Sean McDermott is one of those guys that should be a coordinator because your team literally makes the same mistake. You lose games the same way every single year.
I still can't believe that Monday night game against Denver, the 12 men on the field.
And penalties. When you have a game full of penalties, Josh McDaniels, the same thing on him is like, how do you lose a locker room in 3 different cities? That's on you. That is a you problem. And it's because they're hiring guys who aren't getting groomed. At this point, I used to think I wanted like a young, innovative coach. Nah, man, give me a 48-year-old dude. I want a dude that's been with the Green Bay Packers since 2006. He was 30 when he got the job. Like I want an Eric Spoelstra, somebody that's been really through the rigors. I want someone that's been under Andy Reid's deodorant
That's why,
for 8 or 9 years.
I wonder, like in college football, And maybe there's some things behind the scenes that I don't know about. But how has nobody thrown Phil Parker the bag, defensive coordinator for Iowa? How has nobody thrown a bag
Because
at him?
defense doesn't get you 5-star quarterbacks. You got to be able to recruit in college. College, I'll take the young, flashy, smart coach because you
Kingsbury.
you got flashes in the pan. Like and in college, I got my guys. I got this core guys for. I got 2 or 3 good years with them. Nick Saban is an exception to the rule. Kirby Smart's become an exception to the rule. The Lakers are playing awful. So college, I'll take the young flashy coach, but more likely the offensive one because I need to get the 4-star kid out of Cali, or I need to get the 4 or 5-star kid out of Texas. So I can't do what Venables did, what Oklahoma did with Venables. Now you got to get a transfer guy. Yeah, you get a seasoned guy, but when it comes down to it, I need a quarterback that's just dynamic that can make plays. Any wide receivers are dynamic that can make
Yeah,
plays.
that was
That's why
like
Sarkeesian. That's how Sarkeesian ended Arch Manning. Arch Manning has no reason to be in Texas. He's the third quarterback. Like you could have gone anywhere in the country. First of all, you were actually rated as a 5-star quarterback, and your last name's Manning. You could have gone to
I
any pro
I
style
bet
offense in
you
the
I
country.
bet you if Florida State had Arch Manning, they'd be in the playoff.
Probably. Probably. But like you
But
said,
my
sometimes
joke.
you need to do that.
But my joke of the day is that Florida State still wouldn't have made the playoff if Kyle McCord was their quarterback. But I was looking at this the other day. I was thinking about this before you brought it up a little bit. And as I was looking around the league, you know, I was trying to figure out outside like of the motivation because we think of all the rah rah and the bite your kneecaps, but apparently damn Dan
Dan
Campbell
Campbell.
Dan Campbell is a pretty good coach.
Yeah, and that's a mark of a good coach is that your ability to get people to buy into your belief. Like we talked about, like with Patrick Mahomes just now, he forces balls because I don't think he believes in his team the way they used to believe in themselves when they were making those comebacks. The Super Bowl, that whole playoff run, the 28 straight points against Houston, that playoff run when they were down 24-0. No one panicked on the sideline. And they ran off, they were down 24-0 in the first half and went into halftime with a 28-24 lead in the NFL game. Not Madden,
In a championship game.
in a like a championship game. So it's like
Yeah.
we are going to the Super Bowl off of this. So that's the
Well,
different piece.
like a couple of
Especially
coaches.
like the coaches who have their whole real complement of players. Like if you still like Justin Herbert, you got Justin Herbert, you got Keenan Allen, you
Austin
have
Eckler,
Bosa, Austin Eckler, you have you
Derwin
have
James,
you have a
Khalil
conglomerate
Mack.
of stars. Khalil Mack. If you look at you know Dan Campbell, he has all his guys. They're winning. You look at Robert Sala, I give you credit. You lost Aaron Rodgers on the first day, first night of the season, but you had an opportunity as an organization to rectify that by bringing in a viable quarterback because you knew Zach Wilson wasn't it, and you
Right.
know he's not it, and you knew it last year. You knew he didn't get first team reps, and you knew you've been grooming a different guy. You've been grooming his replacement in front of him, and it started him. It was like Varsity Blues. Uh, Coach Kilmer he didn't care anything about Mox until Paul Walker's character got hurt. So once he got hurt, he was like, "I believe in you, son." He was like, "Man, you just was slap me on the head with a whistle, mad at me, talk, but you gonna get my scholarship revoked, all this other crazy stuff." But as soon as he goes down, boom. Now all of a sudden, you
Back then
believe
they
in
didn't
me.
want me. Now I'm hot. They
They all on me,
yeah.
So that's the piece that that just bugs me is that when you have your full conglomerate of talent and you can't do anything with it. Like if Mike McCarthy was struggling in Dallas right now, if they were 6-6, you would have to look at him like, are you serious? With that talent, you're
Yeah.
6-6. You're struggling with a healthy quarterback. You're struggling,
Yeah.
but he had Cooper Rush last year. They went 4-1 with Cooper Rush. That's the mark of a
Mhm.
good coach. You
Well,
Robert
there's
Saleh
some
loses
coaches
one
out
player and he
there.
just season's over.
Well, there's some coaches that just have it. Like Dabo Sweeney was never a coordinator. Eric Spoelstra was never an assistant coach. But some guys, I guess, just had.
But that's the thing. But Spoelstra was in the organization for
He was in the video room,
years,
yeah.
just putting everything together, being part of the game plan. So he was in there for years. So you're gonna it's not even through osmosis. That's just through hey, you're putting this together. This is what I want to see. If you already know basketball, and now you have a head coach and a GM like Pat Riley give you information hey, this is what I want to see. This is what I want to see it, and then they move you up and they move you along, and then you're like, okay, why this? Oh, this is why this works. This is why this motion offense works versus a 2-3 zone. This is why you can't screen in the 3-2 zone. Whatever the case may be, you pick up on that information, then you get the players and you make it work. It's not going to last forever. Your dynasties don't last forever, but when you have the pieces, when you have a healthy team and your division is constantly losing quarterbacks, Derek Carr's in and out of the lineup all the time in New Orleans. Baker Mayfield is on his fourth team at this point in the last couple of years, third or fourth, because he went to
fourth. Browns, Carolina, Rams.
Yeah, so he's on his fourth team.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Bryce Young is undersized and on a team that just fired the coach, so it should be a no-brainer that they win that division. If you look at Buffalo has to compete with Miami, but it should be a real competition. The two of those teams should be in
Buffalo
lockstep.
did beat them by 20,
Yeah, that was cool, but they also lost to the Jets because they turned the ball over. They had 3 interceptions, and then they lost to Denver because they had multiple turnovers and pass interference call and a 12-man on the field. So it's that's what I mean. With healthy Stephon Diggs, healthy Josh Allen,
Gabe
healthy
Davis,
Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. Even though you lost Dawson Knox, you already drafted a replacement for him. Yeah, you didn't have both of them, but he runs the same type of routes as Dawson Knox. So you didn't really lose. You lost some experience. Your defense, yeah, you lost Milano, but you still got Jordan Poyer, Trayvon Johnson. I mean, Von Miller, you could bring him in spurts. So, you have way too much talent to have the excuses. It's on you. You are not putting these guys in position to be successful because Mike Tomlin was out here winning NFL games with a dude named Ducky Hodges.
Who's a coach, since we named the caption what we named the caption, who's a coach that makes you, besides Arthur Smith, who's a coach that you watch that makes you think I could do that?
Besides Robert Saleh, I just brought him up.
Yeah, not Mo Salah.
Not Mo. I think the rest of the coaches, only the ones like Ron Rivera. I mean, all the coaches that should be fired, I figure I could do that job.
You could do what Todd Bowles does. You could stand there.
Yeah. I could do what Todd Bowles does.
Farted face. Yeah.
Farted face. But I think Todd Bowles, I think he'll be able to keep his job.
You know what's crazy?
Who is that?
I think for me, the one and only Glenn Doc Rivers.
You could do Doc Rivers' job?
Yeah, I could see him. Give me KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. I could win a title.
I think I could have done Frank Vogel's last couple of jobs.
Or how about this one? How about this
goes from LeBron to Kevin Durant?
Or how about this one, Doc Rivers?
I can't do whatever's going on in Detroit. In the Detroit Pistons, I couldn't do that. That wouldn't be a job.
How about this one for Doc Rivers? I could go 0-19 with a healthy T-Mac. I could choke with Paul George and Kawhi.
Basketball's a little different.
Okay.
I would say basketball's a little different because the rotations don't seem to matter. It's the, do your players fit your scheme? Because I think the Lakers just have too many guys that don't give you any variety.
I could do what Josh McDaniels does.
I could have won some games with Jimmy Garoppolo in that. First of all, I wouldn't have traded Darren
Devontae
Waller.
Adams.
Why are you trading Darren Waller? For who? What
Devontae
they get?
Adams, Josh Jacobs.
So I got like if you just simply look at like I play Madden. That's a video game. It's like I know it's not like crazy. I know it's not realistic, but when I set my lineup, my starting running back is Cordero Patterson. My power back is Tyler Algier, and my third down back is Bijan Robinson. Because when you make like certain substitution packages, it'll put your third down back as a slot wide receiver, stuff like that. When you go to two running backs, it'll put your third down back and your starting running back, or you can just go straight power and it'll put three tight ends, like different little packages, And then I have Scotty Miller in the slot because he's fast, Drake London, Mac Hollins, Kyle Pitts, John Smith. So it's a lot of times when I run single back, I'll have both Pitts and Smith in the routes with London, and get the ball to Patterson out of the backfield. It's like I'm making a defense look across and say, who do we guard? You got John Smith, who is basically he was Kyle Pitts before Kyle Pitts. He's a little older, but you give him the ball in space. He had a game a few weeks ago where he caught a screen and ran it for like a 60-yard touchdown. So as a tight end, outrunning defensive backs for a touchdown on turf. So everyone was equal. It wasn't like raining. It was like he was running on turf and he outran the linebackers. I think it was against Washington, right? I think it was the Washington game because it was in Atlanta.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
So now I got the
If it's
defense.
somebody getting 60 yards, it was definitely against Washington.
Yeah. So I got those two tight ends, two wide receivers. Bijan, I mean, it's like you have too many pieces to not make it work. So if I'm Josh McDaniel, I'm like, all right, so I'm coming into this season. I got Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a quarterback wins guy. Wins like 70% of his games. He's a good dink and dunk guy. He's a very accurate, quick timing guy. I had him in New England. All right, let me get him a big tight end target. Already got it, Darren Waller. Let me get him a reliable slot guy, a la Wes Welker. Got it, Hunter Renfro. Let me give him a big play wide receiver like Tom had that one year. He threw 23 touchdowns to this one dude. I got Devontae Adams. Boom.
You went and got Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers. Boom. I got him on the other side. Oh, also got the NFL rushing champion on the team. And then you go across the other side. I got Chandler Jones. I got Max Crosby. Nope. What do? I trade Darren Waller. I ostracize Chandler Jones. I ruin the offense. I ruin the vibe of the team. And then I'm out of there.
Because he think he's Belichick.
He literally had Chandler Jones and Max Crosby bookends. Like you could do anything when you have those kind of bookends.
Chandler Jones even won a game for them last year against
New England. He's probably just mad because he stiffed on Mac Jones. But like they pretty much just said, he went crazy or whatever happened. But it's like you locked him out of facility, and we still never got that information.
Right.
They just basically said, his brother does crazy stuff like that too. That's John Jones' brother. So it's like, it just probably runs in their family. Probably just whatever. We hope he gets what him and his family need, stuff like that. So he just was such he's a prime example of a bad hire from a personality standpoint. And I think these other guys are just prime examples of like inability. Like you're just not wired for the job you have. Like you put it on your resume on LinkedIn, you won the interview, and now all of a sudden you're in front of the board and you have to explain what these PowerPoints mean, and you don't know how to use PowerPoint.
Right.
And you're stuck in the job. They're stuck in the contracts. Like Frank Wright's gonna get $50,000 a day, some crazy number to not coach. I don't
Matt
know. Like I saw that math.
Paid by the
Matt Rule probably still getting paid. Whatever Josh McDaniels' contract is, he's still getting paid. I'm pretty sure John Gruden, if either he won through arbitration, he's still getting paid.
Yeah, he signed a 10-year, $100 million contract. He getting something.
Yeah, and I know they try to fire Jimbo Fisher getting $70 million, but I think that was more of a personality thing. I don't think he was a bad coach. I think he just was in a situation where everybody can't beat Saban. You can't win the SEC. All right,
I got to repeat myself. You know what I said. There are 5 things Texas A&M is not. They're not Texas. They're not Oklahoma. They're not Florida. Like, you know what I mean? But they think they are. You know, like Texas A&M. My grandmother, rest in peace, Wolfie. She was born in 1936. Texas A&M's last national title was 3 years after that. You know what I'm saying? But they think, you know who they remind me of? Having a thought. They remind me of Michigan. You know, this team that won half a title in 1997
Yeah, I
and
give you that.
won their like another title back with Bo Schembechler or something. But they won more games in college football than any other school. Show me the
Well,
rings. Texas.
yeah. Now the national championships are, gonna be divvied out. But like I said, that
Texas. All
hey,
I hear every year is how
The
they're the
Vince Young
best
USC Matt Leinart Reggie Bush game was probably one of the better football games in the history
ever.
of the
But
sport.
all I ever hear is Texas, besides Alabama, Texas is the best job in college football. Texas is one of the best jobs in college basketball, considering the money that they have and all this kind of stuff. They're willing to spend it, and they don't win shit. When's the last time Texas won a national title in basketball?
Are they ever a
When's the
basketball school?
when's the last time they made a Final Four? Hey, they made the Elite Eight last year
Yeah,
with an
but the NCAA
interim coach.
that's tough because like you could literally get a hot kid out of North Dakota State you never seen before, or South Dakota State the Jackrabbits,
Don't
and
be
he
scared
puts
of Wally
44 points on
Zerbiak.
you. He puts 44 points on you. Now you're out of the tournament, or your
You
best
know,
player
but
gets 3 fouls in the first half.
but like even in football, Vince Young, they went back in '09 with Colt McCoy. He got hurt. Alabama won the national title that year. That was Mark Ingram, I want to say.
But that's when Marcel Darius hit Colt McCoy in the shoulder and put him out.
Yeah, and like they
But
haven't.
college,
This is
yeah,
the
college
closest they've
sports are like
been.
that. That's the thing with college sports that makes sense because you get flashes. You only get 2 or 3 good years with these guys. You get a guy in as a freshman, maybe he sits for a year. Good job, LeBron. Maybe he sits for a year, and then maybe he lights it up for 2 years.
Good
But even
pass,
Joe
Booker.
Burrow, even behind you, even Joe Burrow had a regular year before the 60 touchdown year. It
Mm-hmm.
just you got to be able to keep the coach for the average years to get the explosive years, the Elgeron year. But even then, it didn't last. It
Yeah.
didn't. That's the give and take. But the NFL, LeBron just be making up his own rules in basketball. But in the NFL, you get good contracts, you get a good coach. You make wise decisions with your player personnel, who you hire. You got to stop hiring people's friends.
How
Like,
KD legs ain't get no bigger?
yeah, that man
Like
don't lift no weights. All
after
he
all.
do is yoga. It's yoga and weed.
Yep. Saying like my man put the guard to himself to start the season, ain't got a haircut since. But you know,
I
but
don't know. I think he does it just because he knows it bothers people.
I know, right? That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah,
Easy money sniper, what up? Been a long
he's
time.
he's gonna be like Kobe when he retires. Kobe grew the beard out, started talking, doing interviews.
Yeah.
Durant will go to Turkey, get that hair transplant, come back with the waves like Fabulous in '03.
I know the Kobe eye is on right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm rocking it. But on that note, y'all, Sports Reports is ordered. Thanks as always for the support. Thanks as always for those of you giving us feedback. You know,
Absolutely.
hit us up, email, ask some questions, hit us up, Facebook, all that good stuff. Hit us up, YouTube. Check out my Memphis video. Why not Memphis? Sports Reports is ordered. We'll be back Thursday. We're going to have NFL picks, no college until, I think another week before the first bowl game. So
Yeah.
as it is right now, it might be time to get into this play-in.
Yeah.
Championship game is on Friday.
True indeed.
Yes, sir.
And we
So the
love
winner,
you.
yeah, we love you, America. Remember, the winner of this game plays the Pelicans, Indiana and Milwaukee in the East. Knockout. Peace.